I never thought I'd hear my mother's voice again, especially not on Christmas morning. She had been gone for 5 years. Yet there I was, standing in the middle of my childhood home, staring at her favorite chair, and hearing her whisper my name as if she were right there. Christmas in Lagos is always loud, chaotic, and full of energy. Everyone's trying to outdo each other with decorations, food, and parties. I moved to Abuja a few years ago for work, and life there is quieter, more structured. But last Christmas, I decided to go back home for the holidays, partly out of guilt. My siblings had been nagging me, saying I was forgetting my roots, my family. I hadn't been home in years. Not since my mother passed away. When I arrived, it was like stepping into a time capsule. Everything looked the same, yet different. The compound was still crowded with relatives and neighbors. The smell of jollof rice and fried chicken hung in the air, mixing with the faint scent of harmattan dust. But there was this strange emptiness in the house. My mother's absence was like a shadow in every corner. The first few days were uneventful. We ate, laughed, and caught up on life. But then Christmas Eve came, and things started to feel off. That night, I couldn't sleep. The harmattan wind rattled the windows, and the air felt heavier than usual. Around midnight, I heard faint singing. It wasn't the usual carolers who went from house to house, this was different. The voice was soft, familiar, and coming from inside the house. I froze. My heart raced as I recognized the melody. It was my mother's favorite Christmas hymn, the one she used to hum while cooking. I gathered my courage and followed the sound to the living room. The lights were off, but the moonlight streaming through the window illuminated her old chair. It was rocking slowly, as if someone had just gotten up. "Ayo," a voice whispered. I swear it was her voice. I ran back to my room, locked the door, and didn't come out until morning. On Christmas morning, I didn't say anything to anyone. I thought maybe I was just imagining things. But then my younger cousin, Amoka, told me she'd had a strange dream about my mother. She said to check her old box, Amoka whispered. I didn't want to believe it. My mother had an old metal box she kept locked in her room. No one ever touched it, not even after she died. It felt sacred, like something meant to be left alone. But curiosity got the better of me. After breakfast, I went to her room. The box was still there, covered in dust. When I opened it, I found old family photos, letters, and a diary. Flipping through the diary, I saw entries about our family struggles, her dreams for us, and her regrets. One entry stood out. If anything happens to me, I hope my children will stay together. This house is their home, and they must never let it go. Family is everything. I felt a pang of guilt. Since her death, my siblings and I had drifted apart. We rarely spoke unless it was about money or some problem. The house had become a source of tension, with some wanting to sell it and others refusing. It became clear to me, my mother's message wasn't just in my head. She wanted us to fix what was broken. That afternoon, I called a family meeting. It was awkward at first. Everyone was defensive, but I read the diary entry aloud. The room went silent. Slowly, we began to talk, really talk. We aired out our grievances, apologized, and made plans to rebuild our relationship. By the end of the day, we agreed to keep the house as a family home, a place where we could gather every Christmas to honor our mother's memory. That night, as I sat in the living room, the chair didn't rock. There was no singing, no whispers. For the first time in years, the house felt warm again, like it was alive. Have you ever experienced something during the holidays that made you rethink your priorities or brought your family closer? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments. Let's share and learn from each other.